Hello there everyone, Ashnflash here, and welcome on into my official feel guide for the LEGO Minifigures Series 20. And this has been 10 years of Minifigure Series, and like I did for the DC one, I figured that I would sit down and help you guys out and tell you which pieces to look for when actually feeling for the minifigures for Series 20, because I think it helped a lot of people for the DC one, so I figured I'd do the same here. And full disclosure, I only have 15 out of the 16, but I can tell you what to feel for when it comes to actually looking for the one character that I am missing. But anyways, everyone, without further ado, let's go ahead and let's get started. So first off here, we have Pinata Boy, and honestly, the best piece to feel for is obviously the sombrero. I think that's the most obvious part. He also comes in a bag, which you can feel inside, but don't go by that because there is one other character that does come in a bag like that. But the other dead giveaway, besides this, is try and isolate different pieces. Specifically this piece, no one else in the series has that, but it could be mistaken for a javelin, so just be careful with that. But the llama or the pinata here, of course, is another great piece to feel for. You could get your fingers in the center here in the bag, like you could definitely feel the gap, as well as the point here between the ears. So specifically, I think though the sombrero is the easiest part, as well as the short legs, just to verify, because there is only one other character in the series with short legs. So one thing I found myself doing in this series is actually finding these pieces here at the bottom, these new jumper sort of action pose pieces from the DC series. I found myself actually finding them, and they are in two characters inclusions. So yeah, for the dancer here, it was pretty easy to tell because you could feel the stereo piece here, as well as the new hair and hat combo. That was the biggest giveaway because no other character in a series has like hair as well as this like point from a cap, so that was probably the easiest part to feel, as well as this piece on the bottom, the 1x2. The other character who has the jumper doesn't come with that piece, so yeah, I think that's pretty easy to tell. So yeah, I just think it's pretty easy to find her. And here is the peas in a pod girl, and honestly, this is obviously one of the easiest ones to feel. You could feel this thing instantly, as well as if you wanted to, you could isolate the apple to like confirm that it is the piece. I mean, it's very organic, like the shape, haha. But no, seriously, when you compare it to the actual brick suit guy, like this is very blocky, and you could feel the edges. This doesn't really have any edges, minus like the point up here. And I guess the bottom, but you could definitely feel this in the bag for sure. This one you got to be a little bit careful with. If you are feeling for some of the pieces and maybe you feel the flame piece, it does come in the pirate girl as well, so you don't want to go by just that. The new sword piece is a good giveaway. There isn't really another sword piece, but if you're like feeling the point, just make sure it's not the javelin, or I guess even the other sword from the pirate girl. But I think the one that I kept finding myself was the shield. I kept finding the shield, and there's not really a shield in the series that like looks anything or feels anything like that. But another thing is the helmet itself. There is a point on the top, so it does feel a little bit different than the Viking helmet specifically, because there is that point on the top. And speaking of that pirate girl, here we have her, and I think you could feel this piece specifically. There's like, it's just very unique in the bag. Like you'll feel that without any trouble. Like you can feel the hat itself with the 3 points, just feel a triangle in it, as well as then you've got the ponytail attached to that. But if you wanted to verify, go for the flame piece to verify that it's that, as well as just the sword. I think the sword was something that I felt another time, but it is pretty small that you could mistake it for something else. So just go for the hair piece. So you just got to be careful here with this figure because there are a couple of other hats in the series. There's actually 3 other caps, or sorry, there's 2 other caps altogether, 3. But this one does have a ponytail, so it is a little bit different than the other ones. You could go for the 2x3 tile. Just need to be sure that it isn't the 2x2 from the green suit guy. But obviously, if you're feeling something like this and there's no giant green block in the bag, then you know that it's her. As well as you've also got these other tiny pieces if you wanted to verify as well. That could sometimes, if you're not too familiar with it, could be like a head, just if you're feeling like the stud on top and the hole in the bottom. But the wrench and different things. There's a lot of options here for you to actually like verify who this actually is in the bag. Next up, we've got Llama Suit Girl, and I mean, this one's pretty obvious. You're obviously going for the head. If you wanted to, you could go for the carrot. Just make sure that the stem piece that you get there in your hand is not the stem piece from the deep sea diver. All right, here is the Viking, and I'm going to be completely honest with you. This one did stump me, and it wasn't because I totally didn't realize that I was thinking some of the other pieces were for something else. Specifically, this piece here. Gotta be careful with this javelin. That it is the spear is different than the javelin from the athlete. The other thing that threw me was the dish piece, and I just wasn't really paying attention to the size of the dish. Of course, looking at them side by side, they're completely different, but in the bag itself, it did. For some reason, I thought that it was that. As well as there's just a lot of other things that are dead giveaways that I just wasn't really paying too much attention to. But the helmet here, you could definitely feel that, as well as the beard piece is another giveaway. But specifically, if you want to make sure that the tile piece, the round tile piece that you have in your bag is actually a shield, go for the handle, because that was when I went to go find him downstairs, because I had extra ones. I realized that immediately. The second bag that I felt, I knew that that was him just because it had the handle. The discus piece that they're using, the 2x2 round flat tile, doesn't have that tile, the little handle piece. So that's a good way to tell the difference. Here is the not Power Ranger, and there's a lot of things that you could feel here. Well, not really, but I think the biggest giveaway, of course, is this point. Every single time that I was feeling for it, you could feel that point there in the bag, as well as you could, I guess, get your finger. Probably you could feel the hole in the helmet there, the mask, but as well as if you want to make sure that it was him, just go for this piece because that's unique and it's not coming in with anybody else, but just don't mistake it for something else. If you are verifying that, just make sure you feel all the different divots and different things on the blade. Now here's the one that I'm missing, and this is the nunchuck boy, and obviously it's pretty easy what you're gonna go for, and every single time when I was trying to feel for him, the thing that I kept doing was feeling for the chain piece. When I was doing the feel guide for the DC series, and I would constantly find Cyborg that way. It wasn't even his helmet piece, it was actually the chain piece, and there's no one else in the series with a piece like that, so feel for that, as well as like the pegs or whatever that is, and you could definitely tell the hairpiece apart from someone else. And here is the athlete, and I feel like we've talked about her enough from the other characters, but you could feel for this piece, of course, the javelin as well. But one of the other things that I think is a good giveaway is the actual metal piece. There's no one else with a piece like that in the series, so that was something that I was finding and just verifying between the spear pieces that it was actually her. So I'd recommend doing that for her. Here's the diver, and somehow my favorite one, but I really love this figure so much, and there's just so many things that you could feel for. You could feel for the scuba mask, which I think is what I found. You've also got the flippers, which is really easy to find. You've got the leaf piece here, which is different than the carrot top, as well as the turtle piece you could feel, and you've also got one of the jumpers here, as well as a modified 1x1 flat stud there. So there's a lot of different things. The helmet, of course, as well. There's just all these pieces, but specifically, I think the mask was what I kept finding when I was actually finding out if it was her or not. So that's probably the easiest one. And the turtle is a good giveaway. For the brick suit guy, of course, like I said earlier, it's just that giant block. You're going to feel it instantly. It's so different than the other suits, as well as just the 2x2 tile if you want to verify. And this hairpiece is different. And I mean, the other figure, the other pea suit girl, she doesn't have a hairpiece or anything, so you can't really mistake that for anything else. For the Keytar player, I mean, obviously you're going to be feeling for the Keytar, but if you're going by hair pieces, just make sure, I think maybe if you're not too confident or skilled enough to feel hair pieces specifically in the bag, you definitely could tell because there isn't any hair dangling over the front of the torso like the other girls in the series, or the other people with long hair, I guess. But yeah, when I'm looking at like the dancer, you could see here how her hair goes over the front, as well as with the pajama girl. So it is very different that way, so you could definitely feel that, and you'd be able to put your thumb or like a finger completely in his hairpiece there. But the Keytar is definitely the easiest part to feel if you wanted to make sure that way. And speaking of the pajama suit girl, I think, of course, you could do the hairpiece. You gotta just make sure that there's no hat on her hair, as well as that. Just feel for the bunny piece. There's no other piece in the series like with that stuffed animal that you can't feel. So just like isolate the arms here, as well as you could definitely feel the ears in the bag. And lastly, the drone guy, and honestly, there's so many things you could do here. The one that I kept finding for some reason was actually this piece here, and I wasn't too sure if it was like the discus piece, so you've got to be careful that it's not a circle and it's got that little crescent moon sort of thing. You could feel for the hat, but obviously the drone piece, that new piece, is probably the biggest giveaway, as well as you could feel all the little propellers as well, so that's a good indicator. But also you've got the Overwatch gun there as well, so you could probably feel for those, and that's what I'd recommend doing. Well, there you have it, everyone. That is my field guide for the LEGO Minifigures Series 20. Which ones are your favorites in the series? Which ones are you going to try and go out and get? I know that stores and different things are opening soon, so just be careful, be cautious, and stay healthy and different things. But if you are going into the store to field them, just wash your hands afterwards and just make sure that you are being really clean when you're doing it, because you don't know how many other people have been feeling the bags and different things. But anyways, everyone, I hope that you did enjoy this video, and I hope that you all have a great day. See you all in the next one.